Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I saw a tweet by Brett Booth, and he's basically asking, I'm actually curious if the art in manga is what sets it apart, or is it, as others have said, the growth of the characters and not constantly reverting to the status quo, or is it the ease of a start to finish story via volumes? Where and how should we proceed now? It's a good question. And I'm going to kind of mix it up with another observation that I've seen about manga in general. And I want to explain for the moment my perspective on manga is I've liked it and loved it since I first encountered it, which was in the 80s. So I get it, yes, before many of you were born. But I was following a lot of manga from that time period, and I enjoyed the storytelling, and I enjoyed certain core aspects of it, which I'm going to go into now in a moment. And it's funny to me, kind of thinking about it. 30 odd years passed, and I still the things I liked about manga then are still the things I like about manga now. So I'm going to say that my initial impressions held for me as a kid, growing up, getting older, and then sharing with my kids. I'm noticing them picking up on the same things. But it's worth noting for the moment that right now there's a lot of attention on manga. And the reason why there's a lot of attention on it is that somebody shared a top book sold in April, and the list was dominated by manga. And for whatever reason, unlike how this has kind of been happening, I mean, if you've been listening to this channel for a while, I was saying this a year ago and pointing out the same charts. But for whatever reason, in April of this year, 2021, people like, oh my God, manga is here, and I have no idea why now. But okay, at some point, like it's like everybody woke up all at once and decided, all right, I guess we're gonna worry about manga. Whatever, it's fine. A lot of the commentary on manga right now, and I'm seeing people answer Brett, and then just talking about it. Too many of the answers are couched in opposition to U.S. Western comics, as opposed to what actually makes manga great. When you say why is manga so successful, I see answers like it doesn't have SJW politics like the U.S. So let's not talk about what it isn't. Let's talk about what it is, because I think a lot of these observations are largely from people, frankly, who aren't reading manga in the first place. They are not. There's some people who've seen some nice big titty pictures, and they're very excited to dunk on Western comics because of the culture war. But these are not people who are actually purchasing and consuming manga by and large. I'm not saying that's everybody, but a lot of the answers have that feeling, because when you roll out things like, well, I don't know, are you a fan of Demon Slayer? Are you a fan of My Hero Academia? People are like, I don't know what those things are. It's like, okay. So, what is it about manga that, for me, growing up, I really appreciated? To answer Brett's question, for one, and I always found this very peculiar, and I remember thinking this was weird as a kid, and I think it's weird now. It's all the years I ran a store. I've always thought this was a very odd observation. It's easier to get into manga. And what I mean by that is if you have an interest in a story, or if you even have very little understanding of comics, you haven't done much with comics at all, it is relatively easy to pick up a volume of manga, to not have to ask somebody about where to begin, and get started. It's very easy to do that. In fact, in a weird way, by the way, it's easier to do that in the U.S. than it is Japan. I've lived in Japan for a period of time, and it's actually harder in Japan to just start picking up a manga. And the reason being is the manga is collected and distributed here in a very clean, very nice way. And I think a lot of credit needs to go to Viz, who, for whatever reason, rarely gets enough credit for the way that they're packaging and distributing the manga. They're doing so in a very new reader friendly way. And actually, if you're over in Japan, it can become a little bit more difficult to actually get to the start of the manga. It's still there. The volumes are clear and everything else, but it's a little bit more convoluted, in part because there's so much more. So one of the things Viz is doing, and the manga we see here in the U.S., you're seeing a curated amount. You're seeing, I don't know, 5-10% of the manga being produced. You're not seeing all of the manga, and in many cases, it can be overwhelming. And again, take it from somebody who's lived in Japan. Spent plenty of time in Miyataka. That's actually Ghibli, but gone to Akihabara certainly. Gone to the and why can I not never I can never remember the name of the district. It's not Ikeburo. It's just 2 stops away from Shibuya. The opposite direction of the Sapporo. Anyway, there's a giant mall there that's pretty much dedicated to manga, and a lot of people go to Akihabara. That's Electric Town, where you see a lot of games and you have to see the maid cafes, and you certainly see manga and toys and everything else. But it's more of a techie geek area. And this one place that I'm just spacing on the name for, it's a mall. It's a 3 or 4 story shopping center, and it is nothing but manga and toys and anime. That's all it is, and it's amazing. A lot of people miss it when they go to Japan. Everybody goes to Akihabara because they know it from Blade Runner or whatever else, and they don't go there. But sorry, I got off track. The ease of getting into it was always strange to me because in the U.S. It felt weird that something from another country and with oftentimes very specific stories and cultural aspects was a cleaner and easier, even as a kid. And I'm noticing with my daughters, it is easier for them to pick up My Hero Academia and One Piece and enjoy it than it is to get them into comics. And it's not just an interest thing; it's yeah. We go to the bookstore, and my older daughter browses the manga shelves, and she finds books that are of interest to her somehow, and shelves and shelves of manga. It's easier to pick that up. So that's one thing. The second thing is I've talked to a pretty large number of manga creators, and one of the things that you will hear consistently is they know the end of the story before they begin. So definitely plans do change and manga volumes increase, and if it's really popular, it might stretch out a little bit. But all of them have a destination point in mind. And so I think that's a major, major factor that gets overlooked is that the stories feel like they have a driving purpose. Whereas in the US, what you see with a lot of the books, things like Batman and Spider-Man, they may have stories, but you know in the back of your head that these stories are going to go on forever. They're basically they're going to stretch that IP as long as it will sell. And so as a result, there's a sense of urgency, purpose, or drive that's missing. And manga, it does kind of come through. Now, it's not to say every manga title is great because it's not. There's plenty of stinker titles out there. But I think it helps when you're the creator if you have your destination in mind, if you have a purpose, if you're not just writing into kind of an indefinite space. So I think that aspect of storytelling, it's not just the characterization or the story, it's the fact that there is a purpose, that there is a point, that you get a sense that things are going somewhere. I think that's a big factor. The art is very hit and miss. You will find people who love manga art style, and you have people who hate it. And that is definitely kind of a personal opinion thing. I don't think the success of manga is based on the art, although there are people who love manga art. I think that there's a simplicity to the drawings and to there's a lot of dynamic storytelling that takes place in the arts, and I think that's valuable. And if you like it, you like it. But I think that it's that's where personal taste comes in. It's like if you are a fan of Michael Mignola or Walt Simonson or Jim Lee, 3 very, very different artists. And we're not even talking about like James Jean and creators Colleen Doran, people like that, who have yet a different style. There's a lot of styles of art, and you'll find one that works for you, that you enjoy. Definitely, some artists enjoy more mass market appeal. Bill Sienkiewicz, for example, is not going to have the same kind of mass market appeal as Jim Lee, even though both are wonderful artists and very good at what they do. Jim Lee has more of that mass market appeal that can pull in more viewers because it's more accessible. Manga probably fits that bill in that a lot of the art is accessible. The other piece, I mean, it's worth noting because it's true. Manga is not afraid of cheesecake, and they're also not afraid of fan service. So, in that sense, what we mean by fan service here is, you have a collection of characters. Let's say it's One Piece. And Nami is often drawn in a bikini top when there's no reason for her to have one. They may go to a snowy area and she'll have like a parka and a bikini top. Or they go to they go to Thriller Bark. They go to this haunted kind of island, and we're going to have a sequence where Nami takes a shower and she's naked with steamer. This is fan service, and they inject this stuff in because they know their core audience wouldn't mind seeing a couple pages with Nami, pretty much undressed. So but it's less the TNA aspect of it, and more the fact that the creator is thinking about the audience. They're thinking about, hey, my core audience likes this stuff. I will insert some stuff in there that I know my core audience is going to like. If you're on Batman, for example, your core audience is going to like to see some pages of Batman kind of swinging around the rooftops of Gotham and maybe punching some criminals. They're going to like that. Yeah, I once heard a creator of Batman say that fan service for Batman is Batman having a fight with the Joker. So if you're doing a long run in Batman, at some point you got to bring in the Joker and have the two of them fight. That kind of storyline is fan service because everybody wants to see the Batman and Joker get in a fight. Okay, there's nothing wrong with giving your audience and your fans stuff they'll enjoy. In fact, that's smart. And I think that's another reason why manga is successful in some cases. Um, I think the last thing I'd note is that manga does a better job of kind of letting you know what genre you're in for and sticking to it. If you pick up a book, if you pick up One Piece, you're going to get kind of lighthearted pirate swashbuckling, some superhero type, stories. It's not going to morph into a slice of life cooking show competition manga in the middle. It's not going to, they're going to keep it more or less on track. And U.S. comics do this okay. It's just that manga has a lot more playing cards to play with. They have slice of life, they have superhero, they have sports, they have horror, they have fantasy, they have pure TNA type books. They have a wide range of LGBTQ books. There's a lot of different types of genres that manga has. So it's easier for them to kind of stay in their lane or optimize to their genre because you don't get creators who kind of midway through the title are like, hey, what would be fun? Let's do a psychological thriller type storyline with this slice of life high school drama. You just don't get this kind of let's mix up the genres because they have enough genres that you can cross over and go into those. You don't have that drive. I said the last, but I guess there's one more thing, and this is the other one, is that manga keeps its creative team more or less intact. It's really, really rare for manga to switch out the creators. Now, manga creators tend to work in teams, meaning it's not just one guy. It's not like Brett Booth is doing this comic. It's Brett Booth and Brett Booth's assistants, of which there could be 5, 10, it's not unheard of for there to be 20 assistants on a really popular manga who are drawing backgrounds and doing other aspects. But the goal is to make it continuously look like Brett Booth. You would fail if you're part of Brett Booth's like stable of creators and you get one of the artists is drawing things in a completely different abstract, Ben Templesmith style. The Ben Templesmith style needs to go with the Ben Templesmith group of artists and assistants, not intermingle with Brett Booth. You don't have like a Todd McFarlane art style mixing it up with I have no idea. Just pick something very, very different. you don't have those two. You don't have like Eric Canetti doing some artwork, and then meanwhile you have a assistant to Eric Canetti doing painted, abstract, a European style look and feel. You don't see those two things mixing. So generally, when you pick up a manga, you're getting a consistent creator vision from start to finish, and that's very comforting. It's the reason why compendiums and trades that keep an artist do well. One of the dirty secrets is that the reason why trades and things from the 80s tend to sell well and people tend to gravitate to them, it's not because the story is just magically better. In some cases it is, But more often than not, it's the same creator. The Dark Phoenix saga was Chris Claremont and John Byrne. So if you pick up that trade, you're getting a Claremont Byrne story all in one. You don't, it doesn't randomly switch out the artist multiple times in the middle of the book. And if you look and see, a lot of the trades from the 80s in the US are that way. They keep it more or less consistent. Even the Infinity Gauntlet story, which went from George Perez to Ron Lim, Ron Lim was taking some pains to try and make his art style look a little bit more like George Perez in what he did. You could still obviously tell it was different, but he was trying to at least provide some continuity. Today, a lot of the trades, you're lucky if you get the same artist for more than 2 issues or 3 issues. So, the Children of the Atom book, when it comes out in trade, you're going to have a brand new artist on issue 3. The Green Lantern story, which I'm really enjoying from Jeff Thorne, we're on, we just finished issue 2. We've already had 2 artists in the mix for 1 and 2, and we're going to get Tom Rainey on issue 3. So, the trade, when it first comes out, is going to have at least 3 artists and probably more to collect just the first 6 issues of the series. And that, again, we could say, I don't mind that. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't, but manga does have that advantage. Anyway, those are all things that I've appreciated with manga for many, many years. Again, like I said, since I've been a kid. And so, what about you? What are your reasons? If you like manga, what are your reasons? I see a lot of people post stuff like, the reason manga is better is because it doesn't have all that woke crap in it. And it's like, I mean, that again, it's less helpful to basically call out the strengths of something by only mentioning the weaknesses of something else. That's kind of a, I mean, nobody likes to win that way. If you're a pro team and you win the Super Bowl, you don't typically want to say, hey, this team won the Super Bowl because the other team was so shitty. That doesn't, like, the team that won doesn't feel particularly good about that accomplishment. So it's better to actually point. And I think manga has some things that are truly doing very well. So those are those things. And next time you hear somebody say that manga doesn't have all that kind of woke stuff, I mean, point them to the Nukama storyline in One Piece. I'm just saying, you might want to check that one out. Anyway, let me know your questions in the comments below, and like and subscribe, of course, as always, and thanks for listening.